GM, welcome to a special video where we're going to analyze altcoins, some Bitcoin treasury stocks, some quantum stocks, and some AI stocks that you guys have asked me for. So, trading, it's going to evolve year on year. I expect crypto trading to look very different in 5-10 years time than it does now. I anticipate that 95% of the crypto coins out there will probably not exist in 10 years time, which is going to be great because you're then going to be left with the 5% of coins that are actually beneficial in some way to society. So it's worth noting that it's always important to understand how to trade stocks, how to trade commodities, and the blueprint for trading is the same across crypto, stocks, commodities. You build systems and you take your setup. So even if you don't look at stocks, this video might be interesting for you because who knows? Next year and in the coming years, maybe stocks is where all the opportunity is. At least this cycle, this has been where the alt season is. It's been in quantum stocks and AI stocks. So I very much anticipate myself trading not just Bitcoin, but also stocks more so in the future. So keeping that in mind, let's start it off with XRP. So weekly time frame, we've had these key pivot levels, 2021 cycle all-time high and the previous all-time high. That's been where XRP has ping-ponged between after it had its quick, rapid markup. Did that in a 3-week period, marked all the way up, and since then it's just gone sideways. You've had some nice rallies, but it's just through the range. So since then, again, we found support at the 2021 cycle all-time high. If we zoom in to the daily, what are we seeing? Well, we lost that key support zone that I mentioned. XRP did just continue to make lower highs, so that was the sign. There was no break of structure over here, which would denote a change of character and potential uptrend. The fact that we didn't get that is clearly why price went down, because it was in a downtrend, making lower highs and lower lows. Leads to a markdown. Very simple. As I mentioned in all my videos, the markets can be that simple if you let it. It's just as traders, we make up a bunch of different excuses and reasons to be long in downtrends and to be short in uptrends. And that's why building a system protects you. So XRP lost this key level at 2.65, broke through this key support. That led to a flush to the pivot level. It's bounced then, and we're now back testing this resistance. So what you're looking for in XRP is, do we reject it and have to chop around for longer? Or can we now flip that and set a move back towards the upper end of the range? That's going to be key. And this zone is between 2.65 and 2.85. So do we see supply show up? All of these underwater buyers, potentially they lick their wounds and exit as we retrace back. We know they've already done that once on the first bounce. Or do we actually manage to flip that level? Is there just overwhelming demand for XRP and all of these underwater buyers are going to just hold their bags, lick their wounds? Who knows? Very possible, especially with the cult-like community like XRP. And then you can trade a move, which I would say towards the previous all-time high at 3.31. Flip that and you're looking at an all-time high. Very simple. So levels on XRP. When you get above the previous all-time high, you're looking at momentum higher. If you go below the 2021 cycle all-time high, then you're looking at momentum lower. Those are your key structure levels that XRP is traded between. So you don't want to see closes below, or you do want to see closes above, depending on whether you're an XRP bull or bear, because that can lead to your big markups or your big markdowns. And while we're within the range, just expect price to ping pong between. You've got this general zone, which has been a good buy zone. And of course, on the flip side, you've got this general zone, which has been a good sell zone. Very simple. You've got buyers and sellers ping pong in price between a range. This is classic range trading. And now you're at mid-range, where the worst risk to reward is. So you really need to look, do we reject it or do we flip it? And you can trade based on that. So that is XRP. ASTER. So very popular coin, this one. And I mentioned in an altcoin analysis video a few weeks ago, watch this volume profile on ASTER here. If we start breaking below the value area low, well, that can lead to a markdown because that means the majority of buyers and sellers within this range, particularly the buyers, are underwater. And if they're underwater, that is sell pressure, guys. So look how this played out beautifully. I'll take the box of the volume profile over here, mark that in blue. Every time we tried to get above it, rejected, offering great short setups. You would know that from my trading lessons on auction market theory. Once we broke below the value area low cleanly, we back tested it and it held as resistance. So amazing short setups here. This is textbook what I teach in the auction market theory lessons in those imbalanced markets where you lose the volume profile. And then when you come up and back test it, it shows up as resistance. Because again, what is this? Underwater buyers, underwater buyers. So when they get the chance to sell again over here, they exit. And that leads to sell pressure and this chart going down. So that becomes a very key zone on ASTER moving forward to reclaim. Shorts probably aren't going to have a free ride forever. You can easily get a spike up on this coin because it's very hot. Market makers love to trade coins like this because retail, they're interested in it and that generates volume and volume generates exit liquidity. So could we see a spike up? Again, watch this box between 1.51 and 2.11 to see if that holds as resistance or if we can trade for it. Then potentially you're looking at a move higher. If we can't, then you're looking at another rejection. So that's a key box I'm looking at. Until then, guys, this chart is in a downtrend. It's very clear to see. You've got these clear lower highs and lower lows. So until we can start building a base and actually building something more positive for higher, expect the chart to continue going down. A downtrend is a downtrend. So that's ASTER, guys. Now moving on to some stocks. So starting with Bitfarms. Now I believe this is a mining company that most likely turned into a treasury company. Not looked into it, but that'd be my best guess since it was around back then. And it had, of course, a bull market during the 2021 cycle. And the reason these stocks had such a great bull market in 2021 is because TradFi couldn't get access to Bitcoin. They didn't use these exchanges that we know as crypto exchanges because back then they were sketchy. Or if you're a hedge fund and you have investors and you're parking your money in a crypto exchange that blows up, wonder which one that happened to in 2022, cough, cough, FTX, well, you look like an absolute fool. And that is risk that TradFi just weren't willing to take. They weren't willing to use exchanges. They couldn't get access to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was still speculative. So the best way of showing their expression for a Bitcoin trade was through these Bitcoin mining companies. So these did very well, but now you don't have that. TradFi have access to the CME, they have access to ETFs. So there is less of a bull case for these mining companies. And really with these mining companies, it is just a rush down the toilet because Bitcoin is limited in supply. It gets harder and harder to mine Bitcoin every 4 years, becomes more expensive, and you have to then become more efficient as a miner. You have to upgrade your technology or you'll get left behind and you won't be able to be profitable at mining BTC. So that's why they're all turning into treasury companies and holding the Bitcoin with the thought that Bitcoin is a hard asset. It is finite in supply and that will lead to it rising. But all these companies, as I said, they are doomed to fail. It's very simple. We'll show you a quick chart now to show you this visualized. So let's take Bitfarms and let's analyze it against Bitcoin. Very simple. Let's see how it's performed relatively to BTC. And no surprise, this chart will be down only. Yep. So look at this. Since 2021, what is this? Downtrend, downtrend, new lows in 2025, all-time lows, that is. And that is the trend for all of these treasury companies, all of these mining companies against Bitcoin. It's just a levered way to buy crypto. And as we can see, during those liquidations, those levered companies get wrecked, and retail who bought into these companies thinking it was a great idea are now left with holding the bag. Instead of just buying Bitcoin, buying the actual asset that they know goes up and to the right, they wanted to get a levered bet, and we know leverage, it's short term, and this is what happens. So all of these charts against Bitcoin are going to be going down. Yes, you're having a nice rally. Don't get me wrong, there's amazing trades in here. You're seeing a nice outperformance move against Bitcoin on this chart right now. So keeping that in mind, you want to treat this chart short term, not long term. So let's look at the short term price action. You've got a 2024 high over here, which this week we back tested perfectly. Look at that beautiful support resistance coming in there. So while we're above there, expect bulls to be in control. If you take something like a volume profile from the bear market low to now, yeah, look at that, man. I mean, beautiful bear market accumulation. And as soon as you start closing above the value area high over here, that triggers a lot of my systems anyway for momentum rallies. You can catch some amazing long setups if you take the volume profile of accumulation ranges and then trade the break of them. Again, taught in my auction market theory lessons. This is imbalance trading. Absolutely awesome stuff. So if we take a closer look on the daily, what are we seeing here? Well, again, got above that 2024 high, key pivot level, found support there. So if we lose this level, then you're actually expecting this chart to now just downtrend and retrace this all. But if we can hold this level, chop around, form a range here, then potentially you can see a move higher on this asset. So you've had a big move up, which has got almost totally mean reverted here. If we take a fib, yeah, we've come almost to the 0.75, likely to that 618 golden pocket. So the last place literally where it can still be bullish is a retracement to that 618, because any further then you're looking at a full mean reversion of the rally and into ranging setup. So from here, you just want to see this chart now build consolidation like the green path, hold above the 2024 high. That sets up a potential base for higher. You'd look at this as the level to flip. If so, you're going to get momentum trades potentially towards that all-time high, but if we lose the 2024 high, then you're looking at retracement and further downtrend. So that's the trigger I'd be looking at on Bitfarm. And if we take a volume profile of this rally, let's see what picture that shows us. Yeah, so a key level would be to actually get above here. This can be an interim level. So this is your value area high of the volume profile of this rally so far. So above 5.22, bulls have control, and you can see a move towards 6.6, so the current high right now. And maybe that would then look like this, and you can actually get a big move up, hold the value area high as support, and that kicks off. So watch how we flip that value area high if we can hold it, or of course, alternatively, maybe the value area high is where we're going to find resistance, and that's going to kick off the downtrend. So that's what I'll be looking at as a key middle ground pivot level in between the high and 2024 high. So that is Bitfarm. Let's look at RGTI, so computing. This is actually a quantum stock, it looks like, so I think I've labeled this wrong. We'll come to that after I've done all of the Bitcoin treasury companies. So first of all, MSTR. 2021 high, flipped it, held it as support, did chop around it quite a lot, but overall that general zone held, and as soon as we broke above that 2024 March high, led to a beautiful rally. So again, high time frame support resistance levels playing out beautifully. But since then, what is this? This is a clear double top. This was clear euphoria around all the treasury companies, and that's perfect conditions for distribution and exit liquidity, right? So it's really simple from here. Can we hold a range and actually call this your discount zone? And then, of course, at the top end between the 0.75 and 1 level, that is your premium zone. So can we hold within this range is the question. And the 2024 March high is going to be interesting. Do we have to come down, ping off there, and then we base out for higher later on? If so, that would be bullish. Or do we just continue breaking down and have to find some potential lower support levels, maybe at that 2021 high? I'm not sure, but you're at an area where price could form some sort of bottom over here. March 2024 high is your last zone of support for that case. And if so, we can potentially build a range and hold up here. So you really just want to watch your internal structure. At the moment, this is the high that's led to the recent low. Break above there, then that would confirm an MSB. If the chart goes lower and sets a new high before the new low, then again, you're just looking at your new MSB. So the chart's going down. And what I'm trying to say is while the chart is going down, let it go down. You don't need to guess the bottom here. Wait for some sign of a market structure break. And if it continues lower, then mark out your new market structure levels. Can get above, that's the earliest sign of a reversal, and then boom, you can look to potentially trade on the long side and go for this bullish green path idea of MSTR just ranging. But alternatively, this is why you don't long right now, because maybe we just get something like the orange path and we just continue down. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. So that's why you wait for some sort of confirmation, and that's what I'm looking at on MSTR. So CleanSpark. I believe this is a Bitcoin treasury company. It also might not be. I have not looked at all of these, but let's take a look at it. So 2021, it had really nice move, probably with the crypto cycle. So it probably is a Bitcoin mining company, I'd expect. And since then, you can see the weakness compared to something like Bitfarms, which is above its 2024 high. Look at that. Whereas this is below its 2024 high. So sometimes you got to look at your stock and analyze the chart for what it is. This is relatively weak compared to other stocks in its category. So why is that? Is it because people just are wrong and they don't know about something super amazing that's coming soon? Yeah, that's not generally a good thesis to have in the markets. That leads to getting wrecked because price shows first. Price shows all the insider information before the information comes out, and it's clear in the levels. This is below its 2024 high, potentially even double topping here, while other stocks are above it. So, even if you do get above, it's probably going to be weaker. Maybe you just have a double top later on, because at the same time, while this is just getting above its 2024 all-time high, other stocks will be making a high above their 2021 high. So they're the ones you want to focus on. You want to focus on strength, not weakness. And this chart is potentially topping out here, and it's much like MSTR. You've got a range. Buyers have been showing up over here, and sellers have been showing up over here. So price has been ping-ponging between the zones. Until one of these zones cleanly breaks, expect that to continue. So moving on to this computing stock. Let's have a look at it. So 2023 high. Again, these beautiful pivot levels. Broke above there. And you can see with something like a volume profile over here. Let's take a volume profile of all of this accumulation. Soon as we marked up above it on this candle here, got above that value area high, that's to trigger that all of the buying and selling, which takes place in this 70% zone between the value area low and value area high. Once you break above, you're going into imbalance. All those buyers are in profit, and that leads to the markup phase. Charts, cause and effect, guys. If you consolidate for a lengthy period of time and then break out, all of that energy through the 805 days of accumulation where only smart money are around. Remember, look at this chart. Does that look like a bullish chart? If this was all you could see, because that's where smart money were accumulating. Retail weren't interested, and because they accumulated for 800 days, and it obviously had a good narrative, once price breaks out, it leads to a markup. Doesn't mean you have to get long here. I'm not saying you have to find coins that are just down only, because a lot of these will just go to zero. But as soon as you see the breakout, then you can get interested. And, well, that's played out pretty beautifully. Now, of course, you had another pivot level, even if you missed that entry. So we got above the 2024 high. That led to this lovely rally, and really you're entering blow off top territory now. This stock has been going up pretty parabolically, so let's zoom into some lower time frames. What are we seeing here? Well, yes, you've had a final parabolic move, which has been immediately mean reverted now. So you look at something like your fib tool again, from the low to the recent high. We've come to the 0.75, so expectations is for this stock to range between this zone. So if it can build, you'd expect high risk to reward shorts and sellers to show up over here. And you'd expect buyers to show up potentially over here. Now that only gets confirmed if we can actually make the move up to the high, then the range is confirmed, because of course you do have the scenario where this just continues bleeding down since it has been so parabolic. So it's not a confirmed range yet until we get back up to the premium zone, but that's what I'd be expecting from it. You've got a potential range if we can rally up, and if so, treat it like a range. You're looking for shorts around here and high risk to reward sells, and you're looking for high risk to reward buys if it can come then back down to this discount zone and break above the deviation level. So minus 0.2, you're looking at further mark up. Break below the 1.2, then you're looking at further mark down. So that also confluences with the 2024 high over here. So you lose that 2024 high, yeah, this is pretty much cooked and over. But if this stock is not going to be cooked and does have some bullish future, then you'd see price ranging and reaccumulate here. Just like they reaccumulate here, price goes sideways. What is this? This is a range. And just like in 2023, they reaccumulate here. So that's all you want to see. You just want to see price go sideways and not just completely break down to the 2024 high. That's the last place we can say, okay, maybe it's going to bounce here. Maybe you then build and we go for some extended reaccumulation. That's also possible. We can mark that out in purple. But that's going to be very far away. Don't need to look that far in the future, but possibly that is another scenario. And that would be more akin to something like this, where you have a big mean reversion, but it does eventually rebuild, and start going higher. So that's what I'll be looking at on this chart. 2024 high is going to be that pivot level. And of course, the high it's got right now is the all-important pivot level to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at on this stock. Moving on to Qubits, so quantum stock. Very similar chart, isn't it? So you got your 2024 high over here. You've got your 2025 May high over here. Key high time frame support resistance level. What is this again? Reaccumulation goes up. Reaccumulation goes up. Now, again, you don't have to even get long in these consolidations. You can if your systems allow it, but you can just trade the break. Just trade the break. And that leads to this beautiful price action where we've now had a parabolic move. Now, again, it's built a lovely base here. So cause and effect. 2023, you saw the bear market accumulation here. That, no doubt, was a lengthy period of time. So you're talking 700 plus days of accumulating. Leads to a markup, reaccumulation, markup. Generally, rallies tend to have 3 legs. That's, of course, anecdotal, but there is a point where this chart is going to have to cool off and go into either a reaccumulation for a lengthy period of time, much like the last stock I showed, where you see something like this, it comes back down to the key levels, and maybe it's 2026 where we then see the proper run. That's a possibility here, and I'll be watching this key high time frame SR very closely for that to see if it's holding. Alternatively, if we're going to be more immediately bullish and there's going to be more immediate strength, then you're actually looking at a move back to the highs, back to the lows, and then we go up. And that's your range trading example. So again, low to the high, it's retraced past the 0.75. So you're looking at a range here on this chart. You've got your premium zone over here. That's where you got high risk to reward sells. If we can push up into it immediately, and you've got your discount zone over here. That's your high risk to reward buys. If we do, first of all, make that move to confirm the range. So that would be over here after confirmation. Otherwise, you can get something like the purple path where potentially we come back down to this high time frame SR and that holds. But that can also lead to us actually just breaking down if this stock is going to be a big nothing burger. So watch that high time frame SR very closely to see if we close below and accept below, or if we find support and can form one of these reaccumulation examples, because that's what you have to do. After a chart's gone parabolic, guys, price needs to reaccumulate if it's going to go higher, just like this. Parabolic, reaccumulates. Parabolic, reaccumulates. So it's just as simple as that. If it doesn't reaccumulate, then you're looking at going lower and continuing the downtrend. So we've done CleanSpark. Now looking at RGTI, we've done that. ARQQ. So another quantum stock. This is a lot weaker, you'll notice, than Qubits, than some of the other stocks. So it's not above its 2024 high. So again, this is a stock where you're like, why is this weak? That's a question you've got to ask. Maybe it is just delayed, or maybe it's just not as good as the other stocks. And that can be due to a number of reasons. We won't go into that today, but I'll be taking a volume profile of this entire range here, and you don't want to see price fall back within this volume profile. So we don't want to see price fall within this zone, which it's toying with the idea of now. So yeah, 2023 high, also a pivot level. If you start closing within here, then you're looking at this just retracing. But if we can hold above it and then get above the 2024 high, potentially this is a late runner and maybe it has some extended upside to come. So that's what I'll be looking at levels wise. Watch your 2024 high, see if we can flip and hold it, and watch the 2023 high to see if we also flip and reject it for your bullish and bearish scenarios. Now, AVGO, this is an AI stock. Look how beautiful this is. I mean, it's just up only, isn't it? Since literally 2010. My oh my, does this stock even have a bear market? Apparently not. I mean, this was 2022. Remember what Bitcoin did in 2022? This chart was just in a reaccumulation. You can see over here, this is all just one big reaccumulation before higher. So very interesting chart. AI has been where the alt season is, guys. Quantum's been where the alt season is, guys. It's not been in crypto. Crypto had its alt season in 2021. Doesn't mean crypto can't have one in the future. It just means this is the reality of what is happening, and you have to be in that reality. That's why it's interesting to actually analyze these stocks, because maybe trading them in the future is going to be where the big money is at, because this is the kind of rallies where retail makes some stupid gains. So very interesting to see. Of course, key high time frame levels, 2024 March high again, flipping into a beautiful support. Then the 2024 high, as soon as you flip that, boom, beautiful rally. These stocks look so easy to trade. I'm feeling FOMO. I want to start opening up more stock trading to them what I currently do at the moment. So that's a very nice move since we flipped that level, and that's the level now to hold. Probably have to go to lower time frames for this stock because we're still in a rally. There hasn't been any big retracements. So if we look at the weekly 12 and 21 EMA bands, finding support here, expect that to continue until it doesn't. So right now, this chart needs to make a new high because it's come back into the weekly bands. So that's the expectations. If it can make a new high, then weekly bands are your trend support. That's further confirming respect for them. If it can't, then maybe we zoom into the daily. Daily bands have been less respected. If we get on something like the 50, 100, and 200, we can see that the 50 on the daily has been the respected trend support on those deeper flushes. So again, that needs to produce a new high now to show respect. And what you've really got is this big gap up over here. And I think while we hold this gap, this stock's going to go higher. This is now your extremely important area between 308 and 331 for momentum. You fill that in, momentum's probably going to be over. And you're probably looking at then some extended downside back towards the 2024 high maybe, or potentially you just go back towards one of these trend bands over here on the daily. That'll be yet to be seen on this stock. But if we can hold this gap, then that shows buyers are very much in control, since you can't even fill it in, and that can lead to what will be another breakout. So looking at this as a box over here, this price action, which way does this box now break? Does it break to the upside? If so, you're looking good for higher, or does it actually break down and then you're probably following this red or orange path? So if momentum's going to continue, you need to see a clean new high, and then you can again just follow your trend band. Follow something like the 50-day EMA, which we know has been holding a support. Maybe you get a wick into it or something like that, and then you can get yourself on board for a long. That will be shown later on by flipping this level. So yeah, that's what I'll be looking at on this stock. Just back to the high time frame. Again, we've seen these weekly 12 and 21 bands. They hold during the fast trend. And then as soon as the fast trend's over and we need to go into a deeper consolidation, you get flushes into the 50-week, even the 100-week EMA. So again, also watching on the higher time frames. Let's remove this for a second. If we do lose those weekly bands and we do lose that daily gap I mentioned, then potentially you're looking at the 50-week or the 100-week as your support levels for deeper flushes. And that can come around the 2024 high, depending on how deep that goes. So that's what I'll be looking at on your AI stocks over here. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Smashing out content because you guys asked for it. So please drop a subscribe, turn that bell on. Half of you watching aren't subscribed, so help me out. I'm putting out the work. I just asked for one click of a button from you guys. So let me know what you thought of this video. If you enjoy the stocks analysis, if you want more of it, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. GM.